Discover Nietzsche's hidden teaching that transforms your mind and makes pain your greatest ally. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Chapter 1. Introduction. The Call of Adversity. Have you ever stared into an abyss? A moment in life where everything seems to collapse. A devastating loss. A failure that shakes your identity. An illness that drains your energy, a betrayal that breaks your trust. We feel the ground disappear beneath our feet, and the first reaction is almost always the same: despair, anger, the relentless search for a culprit, the agonizing question, why is this happening to me? Society teaches us to avoid pain, to seek comfort at all costs, to medicate any discomfort. But what if this pain, this suffering we so actively avoid, was actually your greatest teacher? What if life itself was sending you a call to become something far greater, stronger, more authentic than you ever imagined yourself to be? One of history's most radical thinkers, Friedrich Nietzsche, challenged us not just to accept suffering, but to love it. He introduced us to the concept of Amor Fati, the love of one's fate. This isn't passive resignation. It's not pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's a passionate and affirmative acceptance of everything that happens in your life, every joy, every victory, but also every pain, every defeat, every scar. For Nietzsche, suffering isn't an obstacle on your path. It is the path itself to your greatness. Today, we're going to unveil Nietzsche's secret to transforming pain into power. We'll understand how suffering can be the tool that sculpts your soul, how your will to power can reframe every blow, and how the idea of eternal recurrence can be the ultimate test of your unshakable strength. Prepare yourself, for what you are about to hear can radically change your relationship with life and with pain. Chapter 2. The Essential Secret. Amor Fati. Not just accepting, but loving. The core of Nietzsche's philosophy on suffering is the concept of Amor Fati, the love of one's fate. But be careful not to confuse this with resignation. It is something infinitely deeper and more challenging. Imagine an athlete training for a marathon. They don't enjoy the muscle soreness, the sweat, the extreme fatigue, but they love the process. They love what that pain is forging in them: endurance, discipline, the ability to push past their own limits. They don't just accept the pain, they seek it. They embrace it because they know it is the essential ingredient for their victory. Amor Fati is that same attitude towards life as a whole. It's the willingness not just to endure what is difficult, but to embrace it with passion, to see it as intrinsic and necessary for your existence. It's saying yes unconditionally to every moment of your life, the good and the bad, because you understand they are interconnected and that the bad is as fundamental to your development as the good. Nietzsche himself faced a life of debilitating illnesses, solitude, and misunderstanding. He could have surrendered to despair, to self-pity, but instead he transformed his own suffering into fuel for a philosophy of life affirmation, of overcoming. He didn't just theorize about Amor Fati, he lived it. Ordinary people, the herd morality, as Nietzsche would call it, flee from pain. They seek culprits, they victimize themselves, or they dream of a world where suffering doesn't exist. But Nietzsche warns us, a life without challenges, without friction, would be a life without growth, a small, stagnant life. True fulfillment, true strength arises precisely from the integration and affirmation of what is difficult. In-depth exercise. The Amor Fati Journal. Grab a notebook and for 1 week, at the end of each day, Reflect on the moments of pain or discomfort you experienced. It could be a small stress at work, an argument, a frustration. Instead of just recording the complaint, ask yourself, what was the exact nature of this discomfort? Don't judge, just observe. If I were to embrace this moment with Amor Fati, what lesson could it be bringing me? What inner strength could it be forging in me? How could I reinterpret this not as a problem, but as a necessary element of my journey? This exercise won't eliminate the pain, but it will transform your relationship with it, allowing you to see it as a catalyst for your growth.
Chapter 3: The Forge of Character. Pain as the sculptor of the soul. The famous phrase, "What doesn't kill me makes me stronger," is not just a cliché. For Nietzsche, it's the essence of how we become who we are. Think of a rough diamond. It isn't born polished and brilliant. It is forged under immense pressure and heat deep within the earth. It's the harshness of the process that gives it its hardness and its sparkle. Your soul, your identity, is that rough diamond. Crises, failures, disappointments, these are the blows of the chisel, the heat of the forge. They are not there to destroy you, but to reveal your true form, to remove what is fragile, what is superfluous, what does not belong to your deepest essence. There are two types of suffering. There is unproductive suffering, that which paralyzes you, leads you to self-pity, makes you complain and constantly seek blame. It is circular, repetitive, and exhausting. But there is also productive suffering, that which, though painful, forces you to change, to learn, to adapt, to become more resilient. It is the suffering that leads you somewhere, that has purpose. The key, according to Nietzsche, is your attitude toward suffering. Do you see it as a punishment or as an invitation to overcome? When you take responsibility for your pain, not for causing it, but for how you choose to react to it, you reclaim your power. You cease to be a victim of circumstances and become the sculptor of your own soul. Think of history. The great heroes, the revolutionaries, the artists who changed the world did not have easy lives. They faced enormous adversities. But it was through these adversities that they forged the resilience, vision, and courage needed to leave their mark. Pain did not destroy them, it defined them. Strengthening exercise. Battlefield review. Take a moment to mentally revisit a battlefield in your life, a period of intense difficulty. Instead of focusing on the pain, ask yourself, what muscles, qualities, skills did I have to develop to get through this? For example, patience, resilience, creativity, detachment. How did this experience make me more capable of handling future challenges? If I could give advice to my past self during that time with the wisdom I have today, what would I say about the purpose of that pain? This exercise helps you extract the gold from past suffering, reinforcing the idea that every scar tells a story of overcoming.
Chapter 4: Inner Strength, the Will to Power, and the Transvaluation of Values. Beyond Amor Fati, Nietzsche's philosophy speaks of the will to power. Often misunderstood as a desire to dominate others, the will to power, in its essence, is the fundamental impulse of all life to grow, expand, overcome limits, and create new values. It is the vital force that resides within each of us. When you face pain, this will to power is activated. It's your vital force saying, I refuse to be diminished by this. I will use this to become more. It is at this moment that the transvaluation of values occurs. What conventional morality calls bad, suffering, crisis, can be reevaluated and transformed into good, not in the sense of being pleasant, but in the sense of being useful for your own affirmation and growth. Consider someone who has suffered a great injustice. Traditional morality might suggest forgiving and forgetting, avoiding anger. But Nietzsche would argue, anger contains a powerful energy. If transvalued, it can become the energy to fight for justice, to set boundaries, to build a world where such injustice doesn't repeat. The point is not to suppress the emotion's energy, but to channel it towards self-overcoming and creation. So-called negative emotions, frustration, sadness, fear, are laden with immense power. The problem isn't feeling them, but letting them paralyze you or using them in a self-destructive way. Nietzsche invites us to be alchemists, to transform the lead of suffering into the gold of wisdom and strength. People who constantly complain, who whine about life, are denying their own will to power. They become small, passive. But the strong individual, what Nietzsche would call a free spirit, embraces the struggle, because they know it is in the struggle that their power manifests and expands. They do not seek happiness as a state of absence of pain, but as the exaltation of life in its totality, including the challenge. Transvaluation exercise, the other side of the coin. Choose a current situation in your life that causes you pain, frustration, or discomfort. Instead of lamenting it, ask yourself, what kind of energy is this situation generating within me? For example, anger, urgency, fear, exhaustion. How can I transvalue this energy? That is, how can I redirect this energy, transform it into something that propels me forward instead of paralyzing me? For example, anger into constructive action, fear into strategic caution, frustration into the pursuit of innovative solutions. What new value can I create from this experience? For example, increased resilience, greater clarity about my boundaries, a new direction in life. This exercise is a pure act of will to power, transforming life's no into a creative yes. Chapter 5, The Supreme Test, the Eternal Recurrence of the Same, the Affirmation of Your Life. And now we arrive at Nietzsche's most terrifying yet empowering concept, the eternal recurrence of the same. Imagine for a moment that a demon crept into your loneliest solitude and told you, this life as you now live it, and have lived it, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more, and there will be nothing new in it, but every pain and every joy and every thought and sigh and everything unutterably small or great in your life will have to return to you, all in the same succession and sequence, even this spider and this moonlight between the trees, and even this moment and I myself. The eternal hourglass of existence is turned upside down again and again, and you with it, speck of dust. What would be your response? Would you groan, curse, despair? Or would you, at that very moment, exclaim, yes, again, I want this life again and again and again? Eternal recurrence is not a cosmic theory of reincarnation for Nietzsche. It's a thought experiment, a moral litmus test for your life. It's the ultimate question. Do you love your life enough to want every part of it to repeat forever? If your answer isn't a resounding yes, perhaps you are not living your life with the intensity and authenticity required. This idea forces us into a radical self-responsibility. Every choice we make, every moment we live, gains immense gravity. If this is going to repeat infinitely, how do I want it to be now? This leads us to a rigorous selection of our actions, our thoughts, our emotions. The person who truly practices Amor Fati and embraces eternal recurrence is one who has nothing to regret, nothing to hide, nothing to deny in their own story. They accept the scars, the mistakes, the losses, the pains, not as burdens, but as the intricate lines that compose the work of art that is their existence. For Nietzsche, this capacity to say yes unconditionally to life in its entirety, with all its interconnected suffering and joys, is the supreme expression of strength, health, and love for existence. It is your proof that you have transcended the morality of resentment and become a creator of yourself. The unconditional yes exercise, the legacy of eternal recurrence. Think of your biggest regret or the most painful moment of your life. Now try this thought experiment. If you knew that moment would repeat infinitely, how would you choose to face it now? What new perspective could you adopt? How could you, symbolically, say yes to it, integrating it not as a burden but as a necessary part of your story that brought you to this very point? The goal is not to erase the pain, but to affirm it as an inseparable part of your journey. Chapter 6. Conclusion: The Awakening of the Self-Creator. So, the next time pain knocks on your door, the next time life strikes you without mercy, remember, Nietzsche does not invite you to flee, he invites you to face it, to love it, to transform it. Remember that what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are the sculptor of your own soul, forged in the crucible of suffering. You possess the will to power, the vital energy to transvalue any adversity into a springboard for your greatness. And you are capable of Amor Fati, of loving your life in its entirety, saying yes to every moment, even if it repeats infinitely. This is an arduous path, yes. Do not expect ease, but expect growth. Do not expect a life without pain, but expect a life with meaning and purpose, where every scar is a testament to your unshakable strength. Reclaim your power. Become the creator of yourself. If this message has ignited a spark within you, if you are ready to embrace your pain and transform it into an inexhaustible source of strength, write in the comments, "I choose Amor Fati." Your declaration of intent is powerful. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this truth right now, someone who is struggling and seeking new meaning for their pain. And of course, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell icon to continue your journey of self-overcoming and unlock more secrets of the philosophy that can transform your life. The world needs strong, authentic individuals who do not bow before adversity, but who use it to become even greater. Life is calling you. The moment is now. Are you ready to answer?